Thomas took additional trips from a billionaire benefactor. Now, if you don't know, Clarence Thomas has already been known to be incredibly corrupt, to take gifts, vacations, private jet trips from billionaire donors, specifically conservative ones. And beyond that, not disclose in some cases. And oftentimes doesn't recuse himself from cases in which people that he has gone on vacation with, that he is friends with, are the people who own the company or brought the lawsuit up or some variation of a conflict of interest is ignored. And it's not just Clarence Thomas too. We'll go a bit more into Alito, but I did just want to get a bit of a baseline, especially for someone who may be unaware of the extent of corruption that exists in the Supreme Court. So, U.S. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas took at least 3 additional trips funded by billionaire benefactor Harlan Crow, but the conservative justice failed to disclose, the Democratic chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee said on Thursday. Now, Harlan Crow, so you guys, a very, very rich, very awful person. Now, holdings, $19.6 billion in 2020, real estate enterprises, largest private landlord of the U.S. in the 1970s. Definitely a conservative. Crow has donated more than $3 million, mostly Republicans. Not great. Not a great dude. Now, Harlan Crow also has a case for the Supreme Court, funny enough. But Crow and Thomas are friends, and we can see in response to a Judiciary Committee vote last November to authorize subpoenas to Crow and Leonard Leo, who's another influential conservative figure, according to Senator Dick Durbin. So before these subpoenas, Thomas has previously come under criticism for failing to disclose gifts from Thomas. On the 7th of June revised his 2019 financial disclosure form to acknowledge that Crow had paid for his food and lodging at a Bali Hotel California club. Now, actually, before we go any further, in case you didn't know, there is no law that necessarily says the Supreme Court has to disclose gifts that they receive. It's voluntary. They're allowed to not, but it's bad practice. There's not exactly a consequence for it. So, who knows how many more things haven't been disclosed? Some justices are pretty good about disclosing gifts that they receive. Some are not. Thomas is probably the most famous one. John Oliver tried to bribe him with a RV to step down from the court. It's funny that, well, it's not actually funny. It's horrifying that you can even do that it's not illegal for the highest court of the land to have a conservative billionaire, even if we're just talking food, forget lodging, just talking food, having a conservative billionaire buy you food if you're a judge on the highest possible court in the land, especially if that billionaire has a case before you. It's obscene that this is allowed, let alone that you don't have to legally disclose this information. Or maybe you do legally have to disclose it, but there's no penalty for doing so. I just do know that there's no motivation for these justices to do so beside their personal ethics and morals. There's nothing forcing them. Even if there is a law that says they have to, what is a law without consequences for? It's a suggestion. It's as simple as that. Now, we'll find out that it wasn't just for lodging. The filing by Thomas failed to disclose that Crow had paid for his travel by private jet related to the Bali and California trips and an 8-day excursion on a yacht in Indonesia. Missions revealed on Thursday in redacted documents that Durbin's office said contained travel itineraries for which Crow had provided the justice with transportation. Food and lodging? The fucking audacity to refer to an 8-day luxury yacht trip and private jet flights as food and lodging is absolutely disgusting. These people are evil, 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 evil human beings that are just corrupt to the bone. And we need new legislation. We need to regulate this court because that's obscene. And he's not the only one that does this either. Despite his serious and continued concerns about the legality and necessary of the inquiry, Mr. Crow engaged in faith negotiation. Supreme Court spokesperson didn't respond to the comment. The Senate Judiciary Committee is having an ongoing investigation for its ethics crisis, which is good, which is very good. I don't have the highest hopes, at least for the moment. Our Senate and our Congress aren't exactly bastions of free thought and democracy at the moment, so it is what it is. But it's not great. Beyond Thomas, we have other justices. Now this came out by Lauren Windsor, who works with ProPublica. The undercurrent. It wasn't, but regardless. So Lauren Windsor is a journalist who went undercover at conservative functions and had some interesting things said to several. So this is going to be a bit long. Let's see.
Hi, I wanted to.
Now, again, Alito didn't say this. Windsor did in an attempt to bait him, but he absolutely believes this. I agree with you. I agree with you.
A place of godliness.
Oh, I agree with you. I agree with you.
Because we look at like the decline of our society, the decline of the nuclear family, and liberals, I just feel like, want to see that happen and proliferate. And I think we've been too permissive to say, oh, okay, I understand the Constitution. I understand,
I didn't want to interrupt.
No. John, very nice meeting you. Nice meeting you. Thank you. You take care of it.
I just want to ask I want to be totally appropriate with, the jurisprudence of it all, but, just to be totally candid, like, how do we get America back to a place of, like, really, like, less polarization? Because I feel like the court is undergoing this period of turmoil. Like, people don't
trust in the Supreme Court because they make decisions that go against the will of the people. Most of the country was upset by the revocation of Roe v. Wade, for one. The bump stock ban that recently was overturned. Not many people, aside from gun nuts and people who want to do mass shootings, are happy about that. It was a tiny, tiny legislation that was enacted under the Trump administration. And even that bit of gun regulation was too far for the right. And actions like this are the reason why people don't trust the Supreme Court. When the Supreme Court last week said that it is against the Constitution to block access to mifepristone, was a surprise to most people, I would say. It surprised me. I expected them to follow through, to continue attacking abortion rights, attacking contraception, and in general, women's bodies and their autonomy over their body, which is a very common thing on the right. Half the country is women, and more women are moving a bit to the left just based on the Supreme Court's action. Now, this also impacts the right lack of trust on the court, because polls of the entire country show that majority of Americans are in favor of abortion rights. Yet they still are pushing hard to take away. And again, this could just be baby steps. I mean, if Trump wins in November and the conservatives have a good hold on power, imagine the kind of things that could get through the Supreme Court then. Imagine the kind of policies that are just gone, or new ones that are now perfectly legal and somehow fit with the Constitution. There's a reason why trust is so.
I think just this was like the last bastion of, I think, like public trust. And like, how do we get back to that?
I wish I knew. I don't know. It's easy to blame the media, but I do blame them.
Maybe blame yourself and your actions. Maybe if you want people to trust you, do what people actually want you to do.
Because they do nothing but criticize us. And so they have really eroded trust in the court.
This is very, very common in service circles, which is blaming the media for a lack of people wanting to participate on the right, when blaming the media, they're blaming the media for covering things that they did, their own actions.
I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, ordinary people, ordinary isn't the right word. American citizens in general need to work on this to try to heal this polarization, because it's very dangerous. I do believe it's very dangerous.
I think it's taking us to the brink of, a very serious and perhaps like non-repairable rifts in the country. And I, for one, am someone like, I support your ruling on dogs. I support, I am very pro-life, but I don't know how we bridge that gap. How do we get
skip ahead?
I mean, we have a very defined role.
Yeah.
We need to do what we're supposed to do. But this is a bigger problem. This is way above us. So I wish I knew the answer. I do.
But you guys haven't been able to find the leaker?
Pardon me?
The leaker, are you guys being able to ferret that out?
It's hard. You can't name somebody to nail down exactly who did it. That's the problem. It would be necessary try to figure out, to nail down exactly who did it. That's the problem. And even then, we might not be able to do it. But we don't have the power to subpoena people to testify, to subpoena records, be able to do it. But we don't have the problem. You know, you can't name somebody who did it. That's the problem.
Yeah, because it's so detrimental to the trust the public places in the Supreme Court.
Yeah, well, we're not a law enforcement agency, you know. It's people have certain rights to privacy, so law enforcement agencies can issue subpoenas and get search warrants and all that sort of thing, but we can't do that. So, you know, our marshal.
For now, they're part of the Project 2025 plan is to give certain powers to don't already have, take away powers from people who don't want to have these powers. It's scary to hear a Supreme Court justice who's so very clearly corrupt talking about how he has a lack of power, essentially, to enact certain things that he would want enacted. And he would absolutely want the ability to find the leaker, Dobbs' decision, Roe v. Wade. I can see that. I can see that had he had that power, he absolutely did, and he probably wants. Now, this is Chief Justice John Roberts.
I did want to ask you, like, specifically, like, with everything that's going on right now.
Now, John Roberts is a bit of a centrist. He's still on the right. He's a conservative, but he's not full-on crazy MAGA crowd conservative like Tito and Thomas. He's a bit old school. Bush-era Republican, like Romney. I don't know, what was John McCain, all of them. He's of that cohort.
It just, you know, it's a very tumultuous time in the country, and I'm just curious, like, from your perspective on the court, like, how do we start to repair the polarization?
Well, I mean, the first thing I think is to tell me when the non-tumultuous time has been here. I mean, you look at the court, what the court was doing in the 60s, what the court was doing during the New Deal, what the court was doing after Dred Scott and all this. It's kind of a regular thing. People think it's so different and special. It's been pretty tumultuous for a long time.
So you think this is a normal period?
You know, I don't know if it's normal. I mean, since I've been here almost 20 years, there have been quieter times. But the idea that the court is in the middle of a lot of tumultuous stuff going on, that's nothing new.
I disagree with this, but really only minorly. It is especially tumultuous at the moment compared to other points. Not that he's wrong. It isn't especially a new thing for the court to be dealing with controversial topics. However, is absolutely something new of how low the trust in the court is. In fact, was this? Of Supreme Court remain record lows. 41% approve of job performance, close to 40% record low. 49% have trust and confidence in court. 47 is the 39% say the court is conservative. 42% about so they're neither too well, and 17% think that they're crazy to me. But look at this chart. It is absolutely a thing of noteworthy. The other time, 1,000, that the court rating this low was 2005. Jump here. Trust in the branch as a whole has dropped massively. It's Alito is saying something that's not.
I guess I wouldn't say that it's not like it's an innovative thing. It's not new. I guess I really feel like we're at a point in our country where the polarization is so extreme that it might be irreparable.
Oh, I don't think that.
I think
it's extreme is like the Civil War. We did that during Vietnam. People were getting killed in Vietnam. I was there in Vietnam. This is all right. I mean, it's not all right, but it's not like it's as dramatically different. It's a common thing. People with their own perspective think this is so extraordinary.
This is a much better answer than Alito. A significant margin. This shows a level of separation from bias from John Roberts that I don't believe either Alito or Thomas agree with the statement, first of all, but share the ability to make decisions level that is ethical because of a lack of separation bias.
I don't know.
But you don't think there's like a role for the court in like guiding us toward a more moral path?
No, I think the role for the court is deciding the cases. If I start, would you want me to be in charge of guiding us toward a more moral path? That's for the people we elect. That's not for lawyers.
Well, I guess I believe that the founders who are godly, like we're Christians, and I think that we live in a Christian nation, and that our Supreme Court should be guiding us in that path.
Yeah, I don't know that we live in a Christian nation. I know a lot of Jewish and Muslim friends who would say maybe not. And it's not our job to do that. It's our job to decide the cases as best we can.
Well,
It's a much better answer. Now, beyond that, oddly now, there was a video about life speaking. Leisure.
More controversy this morning surrounding Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito and his wife after they were secretly recorded at a gala dinner last week. Alito approached by Lauren Windsor, a progressive activist known for recording conservative political figures while posing as an ally. Alito.
There can be a way of working, a way of living together peacefully, but it's difficult, because there are differences on.
After pictures emerged of flags associated with, among other things, election denial and January 6th rioters flying outside his house. Alito had
so the upside down flag here is supporting the
responded that his wife, Martha Ann, raised the flags. She was also recorded by Windsor, who told her she was being persecuted. Mrs. Alito responding.
I'm German. I'm German. My heritage is German. You come after me. I'm going to give it back to you.
And discussing other flags she wanted to fly at their house.
You know what I want? I want a Sacred Heart of Jesus flag because I have to look across the lagoon at the Pride flag for the next month.
Windsor also approached Chief Justice John Roberts, who responded more cautiously to her questioning. Asked about whether the court should lead the country on a more moral path.
No, I think the role for the court is to.
I think it's pretty crazy. First of all, the I'm German, come after me and I'll come after you, give it back to you, rather, is almost certainly a reference to Nazi. The Sacred Heart of Jesus flag, she had another one that she wanted to create her flag. Lady is obsessed with flags. And is very, very heavily. It makes me uncomfortable just knowing that the wife of a Supreme Court justice is so involved and biased with directly related political matters. It makes me even more uncomfortable that the justice itself also agrees.